It's an incredible story of survival. A teenager and his 80-year-old grandmother have been pulled from the rubble of Japan's earthquake and tsunami alive 9 days after the disaster struck. And there's been some progress in Japan's attempts to get its nuclear crisis under control. Radiation levels from the stricken Fukushima power plant have been holding steady or have dropped a little. Authorities have restored power to crippled reactors as the operation to prevent a meltdown continues. And while the situation is more positive than before, the threat isn't over yet. Reporter Hayden Cooper is in Tokyo.
Look, it seems to be moving in that direction. It's probably a touch too early to say that, Ros, but there is the sense that there have been some improvements in the last few days. Firstly, the temperatures in the storage ponds in all 6 of the reactors are now below 100 degrees. The effort is going on now to reconnect electricity so that the cooling work can start again. That could be the big turning point here. If they are successful in the next day or two in getting the electricity back on and the water cooling pumps operating again, that'll be a pretty big moment. If it fails, it'll be a pretty big setback.
Now, the events in Fukushima have led many to question the safety of nuclear power, and people have been out on the streets in Japan protesting about that.
There have been quite a few protests, some very noisy ones as well in the past 24 hours or so, including here in the centre of Tokyo, as people make their voice heard against nuclear power. Of course, it'll become a massive issue now in Japan because a third of the country's electricity comes from nuclear sources. Feeding into the protests is the news that there is some fear over radiation levels seeping into food and water sources from the area. For example, the government is today considering boosting restrictions against exports of food from the area around Fukushima, and also in one particular town about 40 kilometres from the plant, radiation levels have been detected as much higher in water, tap water, so the people there are being told not to drink it. And as I said, that leads into some of the fears, the growing fears about nuclear power, and these protests no doubt will continue.
And finally, Hayden, to this amazing story of survival. 2 people plucked from the wreckage from the earthquake and the tsunami, one of them an 80-year-old woman. How on earth did they survive for so long?
It's quite incredible, isn't it? And the way they survived is that they were in the kitchen of their home. This 80-year-old grandmother and her grandson, 16 years old, were trapped in the kitchen when the tsunami went through. They managed to survive on Coke and water and yogurt, which the young fella got out of the fridge and gave to his grandmother. He also had a futon blanket, which he managed to wrap them both in so that they survived some of the awful freezing weather. So it's the sort of news that Japan has been very relieved and happy to hear. And it seems that both of them are okay. The young boy has hypothermia, and believe it or not, the medical authorities and the doctors have said that really there's no problem at all with this remarkable 80-year-old woman.
Just incredible. Hayden, thank you.
Thank you.